Israel was oppressed by Midianites. Judges 6 verse 1. How could one man possibly stand up to such a powerful army? During this time in Israel's history, they were plagued by the Midianites. These fierce raiders repeatedly attacked and looted their crops, causing widespread suffering and fear. Facing seemingly insurmountable odds, Gideon, a humble man from the tribe of Manasseh, found himself thrust into a role he never expected. The Israelites had wandered for 40 years in the wilderness after fleeing Egypt. They tasted freedom but hadn't quite grasped it yet. Their hearts often turned away from God, leading them into cycles of rebellion and hardship. And then came the Midianites, a nomadic tribe known for their ruthlessness and plunder. They descended upon Israel like a storm cloud, bringing terror and despair wherever they went. Their attacks were swift and brutal, targeting villages and livestock. The Israelites, weakened by years of wandering and plagued by internal strife, struggled to defend themselves. This constant threat left them living in fear, their once hopeful spirits crushed under the weight of oppression. They were reduced to a state of dependence, clinging to the hope that God would deliver them from this nightmare. The Midianites' cruelty was relentless. They plundered their fields, stole their cattle, and took captive their women and children, leaving behind a trail of devastation and broken lives. This systematic campaign of terror aimed to break their spirit, forcing them into submission. The Israelites were left with nothing but the gnawing ache of loss and the desperate yearning for freedom. Their situation was dire. They had strayed from God's path, allowing fear and despair to take root within them. They yearned for a savior, someone to lift them from this abyss of suffering. This cry for deliverance would eventually lead them to a hero, a warrior chosen by God to liberate his people from the grip of Midianite oppression. Gideon was a man of humble beginnings. He lived in obscurity, tending his family's vineyard and seeking refuge from the turmoil that plagued his people. This wasn't an era of grand heroes or epic tales. Gideon's world was one of quiet desperation, where survival was the most pressing concern. Then, one night as Gideon worked in his fields, a visitor arrived, an angel of God. This was no ordinary messenger. This being radiated power and authority, leaving Gideon trembling before him. The angel spoke, proclaiming that God had chosen Gideon to deliver Israel from the Midianite oppression. "Go," the angel commanded. "You shall deliver Israel out of the hand of the Midianites." Gideon, understandably, was shocked. He stammered, "Pardon me, my lord, but how can I save Israel? My family is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house." Gideon doubted his own abilities, questioning how a simple farmer could possibly stand against such a formidable enemy. He felt utterly inadequate for the task laid before him. Gideon's initial response was one of humility, born from self-awareness and doubt. He recognized his own limitations and saw himself as unfit for such a monumental task. Yet, within this seemingly timid stance lay a seed of faith, a willingness to listen and consider the possibilities, however improbable they may seem. Gideon's journey, then, began not with grand pronouncements or declarations of victory, but with an honest acknowledgement of his own unworthiness. Gideon, though humbled by the angel's proclamation, still craved reassurance. He couldn't simply leap into this monumental task based on a single, extraordinary encounter. He needed proof, something tangible to solidify his faith and confirm God's commitment. So Gideon made a request, a test of sorts. "Please," Gideon said, "let me show you a sign. If you will truly deliver Israel by my hand, then let the fleece be soaked with dew tonight, while the ground remains dry." This wasn't just any ordinary fleece. It was a tangible representation of his uncertainty, a physical manifestation of his need for confirmation. Gideon desired to see a miraculous act, a display of divine power that would leave no room for doubt. The next morning, Gideon awoke to find the fleece miraculously damp with dew, while the surrounding ground remained bone dry. This single, seemingly insignificant event was enough to shake Gideon's doubts and ignite his faith. He saw this as an undeniable sign from God, a tangible demonstration of his power and willingness to intervene on Israel's behalf. But Gideon wasn't completely satisfied. He wanted further assurance, perhaps even a touch more dramatic proof. So, he made another request, almost daring God to reveal himself in an even bolder way. "Please let the fleece be dry tonight, and let the ground be covered with dew." Again, as if responding to Gideon's persistent desire for confirmation, the opposite occurred. This time, the fleece was left dry, while the earth around it was drenched with heavy dew. The very fabric of nature seemed to bend to Gideon's will, offering a testament to the power behind his mission. With these two events, the once damp and now dry fleece, the ground reversed in its state of moisture, Gideon's faith solidified. He knew without a doubt that God was with him, ready to empower him to fulfill this divinely ordained purpose. Gideon was tasked with a colossal undertaking, assembling an army to liberate Israel from Midianite oppression. This wasn't your average military recruitment drive. God had specific instructions, emphasizing not just numbers but also unwavering obedience and faith. Gideon was given clear guidelines about who should join his ranks, those who truly belonged to Yahweh, the God of Israel. His first task was to test the men in Sukkot. He called for a grand gathering, urging all willing warriors to step forward. But when he announced God's call and revealed their mission, fear set in. The men balked at the idea, doubting Gideon's leadership and questioning the practicality of facing such a powerful enemy with what seemed like an inadequate force. It was a stark reality check. Many weren't prepared for the spiritual battle that lay ahead, let alone the physical one. Undeterred, Gideon sought further guidance from God. He received instructions to gather around a mountain spring where men could drink and be identified. Only those who lapped water like dogs, displaying humble reverence rather than boisterous guzzling, would join his ranks. This unconventional test revealed not just physical prowess but also spiritual maturity and discipline, qualities essential for the task at hand. This selection process was a crucial step in shaping Gideon's army into something unique. It wasn't about brute strength or numbers alone. It was about building a force united by faith, obedience, and an unwavering trust in God's plan. These men were not just soldiers. They were chosen vessels ready to serve Yahweh with complete commitment and courage. Gideon's army, though small, was chosen for a purpose far grander than brute force. He understood that victory wouldn't simply come from swords and shields, but from a divine strategy, one that relied on cunning and deception. He knew the Midianites would underestimate them, viewing this ragtag band of Israelites as an easy target. Gideon planned to exploit that misconception, turning their arrogance into their downfall. His plan involved using fire not for destruction, but for misdirection. He ordered his men to light torches and carry pots containing glowing embers, creating a spectacle of flickering flames around the camp. This was no ordinary campfire. It was a carefully orchestrated display designed to spread panic and confusion within the enemy ranks. The sudden appearance of these fiery signals in the darkness likely sent chills down the spines of the Midianites. They might have imagined a massive army attacking them, a force far larger and more intimidating than Gideon's small band. Their scouts, already burdened by fear and uncertainty, could easily misinterpret the lights, fueling their anxieties and leading them to believe they were facing a much greater threat than reality. This carefully crafted illusion played on the Midianites' psychological vulnerabilities, sowing seeds of doubt and discord within their ranks. The clash between Gideon's forces and the Midianite army was unlike any other. It wasn't a brute force confrontation, but a strategic masterpiece executed with precision and divine guidance. Under the cloak of night, Gideon's men, armed with trumpets and torches, surged forward with unexpected swiftness. Their cries echoed through the darkness, shattering the complacency of the Midianites who were caught off guard by this sudden, coordinated attack. Pandemonium erupted in their ranks as they scrambled to respond to this unexpected assault. The Israelites pressed their advantage relentlessly, striking at the heart of the enemy formation with unwavering determination. Their courage and God's favor proved overwhelming. The Midianite army, thrown into disarray by the sudden assault and crippled by fear, crumbled before Gideon's strategic brilliance. Then the host said unto him, "Come now, let us divide the spoil." And he said, "No, I will not." Judges 8 verse 21. His victory wasn't a matter of brute strength, but of unwavering faith and strategic cunning. The Israelites had triumphed, not by sheer numbers, but by trusting in God's plan and executing it with courage and precision. Gideon's leadership proved that victory often lies not in might alone, but in wisdom, strategy, and divine guidance. Their success served as a beacon of hope for the future, proving that even the smallest army could achieve greatness when guided by faith and purpose. This triumph marked a turning point for Israel, paving the way for a new era of peace and prosperity.